No. So what they're saying, right? Just be clear for our audience, because I actually read that article. I didn't look at the headlines. But let's what they said was,
Yo, what's going on, people? What's going on, baby? It's another one.
And another one.
Another one, baby. Here with the jury's out, the raw, uncut show where we discuss various social issues with attorneys down to earth, and nobody cares because the jury's out. Yes, sir. So, you know who I am. I'm Ev, here with Gene,
What up?
Jack, aka Splatticus,
Bow, bow, what up?
and I'm here with somebody who I kind of know a little bit.
Just a little bit.
A little bit. I'm here with, I know him as my brother, but this is Dr. Justin Hopkins. How you doing, man? What's going on, man?
What's up, y'all? Hey, man, I'm just glad to be here. I'm just glad to be on the show, man. This is just a dope setup, man. I've been enjoying y'all for a while, watching from a distance. It's just dope to be here, guys. So appreciate y'all for having me today.
I'm happy here too, man.
Yeah.
It's been too long.
It's been too long. I was like, what I got to do to get on the episode, y'all? Y'all been just growing, blowing up and stuff. Like,
Too famous now.
right? Like, it was like I had to reach out.
It's hard to get you in New York too now. You busy.
It's me. I got it.
It's you, not me.
It's not us, it's you.
Well, 50-50.
50-50, yeah. But yeah, it's good to have you, man. Finally.
Finally.
Normally we have two guests, but we feel like you need your own show.
Oh,
so you
wow.
can talk
Okay.
about,
You got your own app, yeah.
I'm falling in love now.
Yeah,
You got two people in you right now.
Yeah. So we're just gonna get started with the basics. Tell the people
Cool.
who you are, what you do.
Yeah, I'm Everett's little brother. No, so I'm a clinical psychologist, and I have a private practice in D.C. Where I work with adults and couples. I do what's called psychodynamic therapy. It's all about understanding that people have an unconscious mind and that there's way more to us far beyond what we're aware about ourselves. So I think therapy is all about understanding yourself, knowing yourself better, getting more information from your interactions, your internal experiences, so you can be more clear about your needs, your wants, your desires, and make decisions that'll lead you to a more fulfilling life. So that's really the kind of therapy I do. And of course, as a Black man, like my practice is full of, people of color, so I work with, and people of all walks of life, really. I mean, people who span the gender spectrum, sexuality, race, all sorts of things when it comes to that. Because I just feel like we could benefit from therapy so much.
Yeah, it's not talked about enough.
Yeah, it's not. People who are oppressed, man, like therapy is one avenue for liberation. Because we're going to live in oppressed systems no matter what. But when you know yourself more, you can kind of detoxify from the messages that we receive that keep us down a little bit. So that's where I come from in terms of the kind of work that I do, in a nutshell.
And what got you into that work? Like, was there something that happened in life that you were just like, oh, nah, I gotta do this?
Well, I don't want to expose F's childhood secrets. But, I was just like,
You was a bully? You kept beating him up, right? That's what you did. And like, I'm going to get him back by changing the world.
No. I'm fucking with you, but I don't know, man.
All firstborns, we're kind of assholes.
Yeah, we do. We are. Oldest team.
Oldest team.
And you being in psychology, we don't mean it. We just,
We helping you build character.
Right.
we don't benefit from it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
I haven't had to pick on you, so you don't pick on me.
It's just 20 years in advance.
Word.
Looking out for G's.
Word.
No, so honestly, in all seriousness, Corey was a pretty good older brother as far as older brothers come. Yeah. So, but it was a lot of things. I think growing up in the barber shop, because Grandpa has his barber shop there. It's like one of the few places where dudes could come and talk, you know what I mean, and actually unload and be real with each other a little bit more. And I just always fuck with that kind of vibe, like actually getting to the real of life. I'm a real curious dude. I think humans are fascinating. We're all really, really complex, and what space exists where like men, especially men of color, can come and actually talk like in a more vulnerable, more revealing kind of way. It's like not many.
Right, yeah.
Barbershops are one.
Barbershop's one.
Yeah.
This podcast is one.
This podcast is one also.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. I mean, that's why I was trying to get on the show. You know?
Shout out. You know.
Let it go for now. So I think seeing that, and also just being a dude, I was always that cliche friend that people would come to seek advice from, you know. And I don't think therapy is about advice, but we can get to that at another point. But
That was definitely a question I had.
okay, I got you.
Yeah.
But I was just naturally a good listener, curious about people, and you know, people gravitated to me for that. So, you know, I kind of made a career out of it. I knew I couldn't do too much with a BA in psychology, and I really wanted to go all the way, and I did, and here we are.
When you got that BA in psychology, did you know you wanted to go to grad school from jump?
Not from jump. Maybe like end of junior year, beginning of senior year, which is a little late in the game, but I made it work, you know.
Why is it late?
Just because of the grad school application cycle. I didn't really know until early fall semester of senior year.
In college.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then it was like deadlines for applications are in 2 months, so maybe, you know,
Right.
we gotta get this going.
Speed it up.
Yeah. So yeah, I applied to a number of different programs, got into a doctorate program in Virginia Beach, went to Hampton, then went to Regent University in Virginia Beach, and I did my internship. It's 5 years, right? The doctorate program is 5 years. You get your master's on the way. The 5th year's internship is kind of like a residency for medical students.
Okay.
I did that at the Philadelphia Veterans Hospital.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, then I did
So veterans, like, you know, people who like serve in
Military,
war
yeah.
and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Okay.
literally. There are VAs all over the country just for veterans, people who've served in the military. Yeah, so maybe they've been deployed, maybe they've seen combat, maybe not. But we're talking Coast Guard, Air Force, right? Navy, Army, Marines. You know, I had worked at a veterans hospital during my education too, because you have to like do training along the way. First year is just class,
Right.
but 2 through 4, it's class and clinical work where you're seeing patients and you're supervised. And in that 5th year, you're working full time as, you know, as a psychotherapist or a psychometrician doing tests. You know, like y'all know what the ink block test is, right?
Yeah, the Rorschach shit.
Yeah, I'm trained in that.
Nah.
It's really good stuff.
Y'all using some big words. Ink test, Rorschach. What's that?
No, my shit was a
always
reference
see
to
titties?
Watchmen.
Yeah.
My shit was so
Right.
you know what Watchmen?
Right.
And the guy he has the
Yeah.
mask on, but it's the ink that changes shape.
That's a real
Oh, I've seen
psychological
that.
assessment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've seen that.
so basically, it's like if I could, it's like a white card, and it has like these just random ink blots.
Oh,
that
and they be like,
that
tell me
are
what you
kind
see?
of, but they're like
Yes.
mirrored, right? It's like
Yes.
half of it. and
They're
it's like-
symmetrical.
Yeah, they're symmetrical.
Got it.
And then they give it to you, and they say, "What do you see?" or "How does it make
Right,
you feel?"
right. Oh, okay.
And then that's kind of like I don't know the science behind it, but that's how they try to figure you
they're
out.
typically titties.
For Eugene, they're typically titties. What do you see? Titties. I didn't even show it to you. Titties.
I know what it's gonna be. It is.
Titties. Titty, four titty.
There is a coding for that. There's literally a coding.
2319.
Dr. Hopkins don't waste your time.
This guy's just gonna see titties. Let's just throw this test away.
Talking for a session though. Make sure you get that money.
Right.
So basically you did 4 years of college and
Yeah.
5 years of grad school,
Yes,
and then
I
a
did-
residency after.
So
during.
it's
Internship.
during. So
Okay,
that's 5
okay.
years, including the residency, and then I did 2 years of postdoc.
What's that?
What's that? Yeah.
Postdoctoral fellowships.
Okay.
Right. So fellowship in my world, in clinical psychology, fellowships are more of a structured way to get your clinical hours to be licensed in certain states. So some states, like you have to log all of your clinical hours and your supervision. And some states, you'll have enough hours to get licensed right when you graduate. And a lot of states you won't. New York, DC, California, pretty much any place I'd ever live. So you'd have to get another.
You ain't getting it in Alabama. I don't give a fuck about you, Utah.
You ready out of the box? No way.
Right. That's not the case in some of the larger cities. So you have to do another year of supervised work. And you can do that in a lot of different ways, but postdoc is one formal, structured way to do it. And I just happened to go to one. I went to George Washington University in D.C. That's how I ended up in D.C. That I really, really enjoyed. It was really dope training. It was in psychodynamic therapy, all about learning about the unconscious and helping people discover themselves. And and that was 2 years. So I did that for 2 years. Then I worked at Georgetown Law for 2 years. And so I got started with that.
And you were helping lawyers with that?
I was working with law students.
Okay.
All of my patients were law students, and I was doing that part time, and then I started building up my private practice.
Okay.
And now,
That's interesting.
How related to the veterans were the of the people going through law school? Because I feel like that might be a little bit of similarity.
There's some real
Fucking bar, man. I see it everywhere. I just see it. I hear the bar. Different clacking together.
different type of trauma, yo. Different type of trauma.
Of course. No
Yo, the
disrespect
legal
to veterans,
profession, and I don't think you know this either, because I don't think I've had a conversation with you about this. But so I did 2 years at Georgetown Law while building up my private practice, right? And then I moved into that full time. But so around the time when the whole George Floyd movement, a lot of the big law firms, many are located in D.C. and New York, they're looking for like DEI specialists and psychologists to like work with their people, because they're like, yo, we got the whole culture fucked up.
DEI,
What's
meaning
DEI?
Oh yeah.
you just throwing letters again.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Okay.
So
That's
the-
a real law firm.
Yeah. So those are like the departments in big companies that be like, we kind of give a shit about like people of color, but
On
not
paper.
really. Yeah, like on paper.
On paper, they got
But not really, right?
So is that so? You know, I saw on your webpage that you are anti-racism consultant. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do some of that.
I've never seen that title before anywhere.
Okay.
So I really want you to talk about that.
Okay. Yeah. So what I would consider that is basically, I'm someone who, in addition to my practice, like I do a lot of speaking engagements, you know, and sometimes some group facilitation for companies, but it's more so like speaking engagements. So I've spoken at schools, law firms, large companies, and that was really booming during like really in the wake of George Floyd. You know, because a lot of companies like, we don't know what to say. They're telling us we suck at our messaging. Like, we don't know what our messaging needs to be. Like,
They don't know nothing. They don't know.
Right.
We need somebody in PR to just be like, from the hood. No, don't say that.
don't say that. Yo, you just need a brown person on staff. Like, I don't understand how y'all don't see the value of that.
No, it's craziness.
It really is.
I feel like a lot of brown people in those positions don't like.
They
being
don't.
Like, being
They
like,
don't.
Hey, we just want to run this by you.
Yeah.
Neutral. You're a neutral opinion.
I hate it because I was like, oh, so let me ask you about your blackness. What your people, what would your people think of this? And it's like,
It's a stressful job, yo.
Right.
But I'm glad I don't actually do it. There are people who are like, they do DEI work for a living, you know, and they become like directors of DEI for different companies. Like, that's not me. But I will do some consultation, like speaking, workshops, and things like that.
Okay.
And so, for example, one of the ones that I did was like a 2-part series with Catholic University in DC. And the first part was like, American racism, how did we get here? So it's literally just history about colonialism and how fucked up our system is, like from then to now. Right, basically just drawing like very clear connections. Like this is how race fucks us up. And then the second one was like, American racism, where do we go from here? So it's talking about like, how do we heal from racial trauma? You know,
so you're
and how do we
basically
move
showing
forward.
them that there's racism.
I'm making a very clear argument about what racism is, where it came from, how we can't disconnect the past from our present, and why people feel the way they do about race.
I love how that first one was phrased like, how did we get here?
Right, yeah. That sounds very white to ask.
Bro,
Wait, I didn't know this
it
was
is
here.
like
Yeah.
the basics, man. It is the basics. And the definition that I use of race is like, it's literally just a concept to determine who gets the resources in America or does not. That's what it is. It's always been about that. Who gets the resources in America, right? And you can track that from the very beginning all the way up to now.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy because, you know, I was actually last week, you know, Trey gets some therapy, you know, services and stuff like that. So he got a new speech teacher, and he just recently got into a new school because he's going
I
to
heard.
Lawrence Whitmere Academy. He's supposed to be going to, and that's, you know, in Long Island. It's near like a Jewish neighborhood, but it's, you know, a Long Island school, so you know it's very good.
White.
Yes. Although when we went, there were a couple of dots. You know, a couple of us.
You saw who his friends were going to be.
but we liked it. It was diverse enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's in a predominantly white neighborhood.
Yeah.
So we told his, you know, speech teacher that's where he's going to be going, and she was like, "How did he get in there?" And we're like, and I wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know, my wife was there, and she was like, "What do you mean?" You know, and you know, Abby, she ain't gonna take no shit. She ain't gonna talk about her kids.
Yeah.
So I don't know how she ain't killed that woman, but me, I'm thinking like, you know, had I heard it, you know, me, I'm kind of slow to react, so I would have been like, "Well, he applied," and then I would have went home and drove in the car. I would have been like, "What the?" Exactly what would have happened to me. You know? But it's I think that was the first time I actually heard it against my son. You know what I mean? So like I was like, yo, this person is teaching him speech. You know, she already thinks that he has problems, but she doesn't really have that bad of problems.
And you know what we would be surprised with is if you were to like question her, be like, whoa, hold on. Now let's dissect this.
Yeah.
They would be like, well, I don't see the racism in that. I don't see the. I just asked a simple question.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
And that's basically what I was like. She was saying like, oh well, you know, she started stuttering. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't mean it like, you know, any type of way. I just, you know,
Right.
how did you know about it, or how did you find out about this?
That's not what she was asking.
Yeah, that's not what she was asking.
But there are even though there's no defense for it, there are people who are that oblivious, right?
Oh yeah,
who don't realize like some of the things that they say naturally that just roll out of their mouth without thinking have those racist tendencies and have that racist history behind the thinking and the perspective.
Absolutely, and that's I wasn't there. I don't know the context, but that sounds like a very like visceral response. It's just like very knee jerk. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, how did he get in there? Like,
yeah, it was.
And then she had to think about what she was saying.
She didn't think before she spoke.
So you probably deal with that when you speak to these people about it, where you see them on their faces like, wow, you really don't know that you're being racist by having this perspective or by carrying out these laws or you know, practicing whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, they don't get it. And what I try to do is just show them literally what race is, what it's done historically, what it's doing now, and they can like, you know, it's kind of I feel like the way that I present it is not negotiable, and it's not about making anyone feel bad. It's about educating you about where we are and why we're here. You know, and that's it. I mean, you can look at the map of colonialism and see that like Europeans like colonialized like 90% of the world.
Right.
You know, already you're forcing all your shit on us and like erasing our own shit. If that's not a like, you know, oppressive power move, then what is? And then still like they're, you know, the standard for everything. It's like, you know, so much bullshit. So I do, but the worst thing about microaggressions is that like you don't know what to do with that because it's like, did that really happen? Is that like a real thing?
Right.
Like if someone calls you a nigga, like you're like,
no, that's clear.
You don't have to think about that.
Ain't no micro nothing.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Those are easier to deal with sometimes than the microaggressions because sometimes you got to think about it and you're like, fuck, like I wish I would have said something. It's like,
Yeah.
You know, it's just a transfer of energy
It
and then
requires
people deny
work.
it's there.
Yeah,
it does.
It requires work that I don't really. I'm kind of sick of. I'm tired of it.
So tired of it, man.
I'm tired of it. You know?
So tired.
How do you judge their success in taking your advice?
What's your assessment?
Yeah, so the folks who do DEI work for a living, they do that kind of assessment. I'm more of a lecturer and I do workshops, right? But you know, that's not so I've partnered with other people who will do like larger projects. Like they'll do some sort of equity assessment. They'll gather data from the company. They will do like a pre-assessment and a post-assessment, right? So I've partnered with a couple of people who do all of that work, but I'm more of the educator, right? And more of on the, so that'll just be one component of the interventions that you employ, pretty much. Yeah.
So,
and that's what I do. So that's what I was going to say before. That's what I do for a couple of law firms now. I do some workshops. Law firms now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are those conversations pretty much the same, or do you have to alter it for the law firms because it's directed towards the law or like the legal system that they work in?
No, it's pretty similar. It's pretty similar. I mean, you know, those big firms are pretty much the epitome of corporate America.
Okay.
And in terms of the issues that they have, so it's pretty much the same. I haven't been able to do those large scale like education projects like I did with
Like a TED Talk or some shit like that.
Yeah, like the one that I did for Catholic University. I haven't done that for them, but I do these like quarterly groups with what's called their Black Affinity Network. So there'll be all the associates or staff at the firm that identify as Black or don't, but are there to like support, you know, Black folks in the company.
Got you. So now you said something earlier that you don't give advice.
I don't.
We had a couple of social workers on here before, And I made the mistake of saying that, when you're giving advice, and they cut me right off. It's like, no, we don't give advice. So I want you to explain,
Yeah, like
what that means.
what separates advice from like
What they paying you for?
Right.
But it sounds like you're supposed to be giving advice of how not to be racist.
Like
But,
I'm telling you to buy this crypto stock, but this is not financial advice. It's like, it kind of is, but it is.
So let's separate the two, right? So for when I'm consulting or doing a workshop or a speaking engagement, I will give some more direct instruction. But when I'm working with a patient, like working with couples, I do not tell them what to do.
Do you give them suggestions?
I may eventually, but mostly, this is what I tell people the first time, like the first phone call I have with people. It's like, I'm not the type of therapist that gives advice. I do not give homework, right? More so, I feel like the work comes from me trying to help you figure out what is best for you in your life. I think advice is really hard to give, and it's often really easy to give, and it's often wrong, because it's usually about the person giving it than it is the person receiving it. So my job is to really get to know that person, become preoccupied with the things that they're telling me, and think about their past and present as they're speaking with me in the moment, so that I can help them understand who they are in a better way.
Okay.
And from there, they can make decisions for themselves that are more beneficial.
Do you have sessions like back to back? Is it hard to, given what you're describing as your process with them, is it hard to get in their zone during the session?
Because everybody is different.
Remember everything
Yeah.
that you need for that session?
Yo, it's not hard to remember people, you lock in, you really get to know someone, and you can kind of get the emotional landscape. So when they say certain things, you just remember a whole slew of things, like their boyfriend's name, aunt's friend, it's
Like a
just
friendship.
it's on that level of intimacy, I would say. But I also don't talk much about myself in therapy either. Yeah, I don't really self-disclose all that much, because it's really their space. Yeah, it's not about me. Exactly. To put it lightly, right? I mean, put it straightforward.
I mean, you never had clients that you remember, like, as soon as
Yeah, of course.
yeah,
Maybe she had the fatty.
like Jack remembers his teacher.
Yup.
This is a running storyline. Jack's teacher. I got it. I'm picking up.
All right. So, I guess one thing I did want to ask too, because I did ask social workers as well. So, what's the difference between social work and psychology? Because it seems that you both have therapy sessions where you speak to people and help them with their issues or whatever they may have to kind of help their life, to make their life better, right?
Yeah.
Or make better decisions. So, what would be the difference between you two?
Yeah, I'll tell you like this. It really will depend on their
License?
job. It could depend on their license,
Yeah,
because I think
licensing
social workers have a couple of licenses.
Yeah, they have different licenses.
But we have different privileges as well. Psychiatrists are trained in medicine, right? Like, they go to medical school. So the vast majority of psychiatrists only prescribe medicine. There are a handful here and there in the country that do therapy as well. There's a good amount of them that do therapy in DC, but most just do medicine and aren't trained in therapy at all.
So then what does a psychiatrist do?
They just prescribe medicine.
They're able to prescribe you,
So,
But
It's
based
sad.
off of what?
like
though?
Xanax and shit like that.
yeah, well, they'll
based
do an
off what?
they'll do an assessment.
Oh,
right?
okay. So we'll have to at least talk to you. and
Yes,
see
they
what's
will do
going on.
talk,
Okay.
but
Gotcha.
they'll do an intake and assessment of your history, like understanding your symptoms. They're very symptom and diagnostic focused.
For the sole purpose of giving you
doing
medicine,
medicine.
Got it.
Yeah.
not
Okay.
helping you
Right.
through your.
So for Adderall, like Xanax, your antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications. That's what a psychiatrist is for. But so a psychologist, we don't have medication privileges, right? But we're very trained in therapy and also trained in psychological assessment, like the Rorschach. And so we can do both of those.
Everyone wants to be a penis. And you want to fuck your mom. Oh, okay, thanks.
He prescribed cocaine at one point, but he also had
He
some
was on that shit. He was.
He also-
So, tell me about your day.
Who is this we're talking about?
Freud.
Freud, yeah.
Freud was rolling.
He
man.
also had some really useful things.
Yes, he did. Of course.
I mean, the laws was different back then. You know,
The laws was different. They didn't know much about cocaine back then. That's for sure.
Cocaine.
medicine.
It's like this would cure depression. No, it didn't.
No, it didn't. For 15 minutes. And then you had to cure the depression again another 15 minutes later.
They should have kept cycling through. There's some good ones out there.
Oh my god.
So back to what you were saying before.
Then social workers, they're trained in therapy, but they also are really they're also trained in kind of like a community mental health, where they'll look up referrals and resources and programs, you know, for people to get into, right, housing situations, right. They're more of a kind of like hands-on and getting people connected to certain things that they might need given their situation. So for example, on an inpatient ward, right, they may handle all of the referrals, like all of the follow-up treatment care, and making sure that the family is in touch with the treatment team, and while also doing some therapy, right, and meeting with them and checking up on their treatment plan. So they're more of like, they do a lot of case management, they will do some therapy, but also they'll manage programs to get people connected to programs and referrals as well.
Got you. So, you know, pandemic's still going on. What are some of the most issues you've seen?
First of all, it's telehealth now, right? So I used to be one of those therapists who was like, I'm never doing this shit. Now it's just like, I have to.
Okay.
So
But you still prefer the in person, even
I
though
do, man. I do.
You seeing patients in person now?
Occasionally.
you got the plastic wall up. You
Yo,
the high BB making a sandwich. What you need, my friend? What you need?
Uber drivers?
The bulletproof glass at the corner store is like.
What makes you like? I personally hate teleworking, but what makes you like in person?
Like, what makes it different?
Yeah.
This is a very stupid example, but I don't know. I think it's funny, right? So there's a patient I've been working with for the better part of a year. It's like 7 months, 8 months maybe. And I saw him for the first time this past week, and we realized we were both sneakerheads.
Oh yeah.
You don't know that kind of shit, right? You don't know, but you just get a better feel of a person, right?
Yeah.
Like you just, you can kind of, see who they are. There was a couple that I was working with for a while, and I realized, I mean, their personalities kind of spoke to this in a way, but one person was severely taller than the other. It's just like more information about who they are and how they interact,
Right. It's stuff that you can't really communicate
It's
over
stuff
the
that,
computer.
yeah. And they say that, at least 67% of all communication is nonverbal. So there's a lot of stuff that you could kind of like really actually miss out on.
And there's probably a huge gap between them turning on their telecommuting, not telecommuting, like virtual.
Their mic or their
like,
camera.
like them turning on that presentation to you as compared to walking into your office and they're kind of more loose and being themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
It can work both ways, but you're right? Like, because the screen is kind of like, I don't know, it's just like one removed. It's like a little, you're not in the same space with them.
Yeah.
But there's some people who actually, when I transitioned, I'd worked with them in person for a while, and they transitioned to telehealth, and it's like,
they became more comfortable.
They became more comfortable because they're in their own space. It feels a little safer. They're not like in, my office.
Yeah.
So
You don't have the stress
it
of
depends.
taking a bus all the way to see you or something
That
like
too.
that.
That too.
It's raining outside or snow.
Might not be too self-conscious, looking at what they're wearing and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So feel comfortable in their own home. Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
What other, issues?
So, but what other things have you been dealing with since the
What are you
pandemic?
seeing from patients
Right.
mostly now that the pandemic has been going on?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of loneliness, a lot of stress between couples locked in the house. DC's a lot of condos and apartments, smaller spaces, more fights, or things that weren't addressed get, stirred up. If you had underlying issues with a partner, right, for a while, or just some arguments that haven't been dealt with, right, those things can really flare up. You're locked in, a space together, so that happens. And your general stuff that's just a little bit higher, right? Like your depression, anxiety. Everyone's at a higher level of stress right now.
Did you see like a pandemic uptake in your clientele?
I did. I absolutely did.
How many clients you have now?
I always go by like how many appointments I have a week. And so I average about 27, 28.
Okay. Appointments?
Yeah.
That was before the pandemic, or that's right?
That's
after?
right now. That's right now. Before, maybe like it was a little bit lower, but there was one point in the pandemic I got up a bit higher.
Oh,
You know, to like 30.
And so, like, do patients see you every week, or is it, you know?
I like seeing people every week. I think that's the way therapy works best. Not everyone wants to do that or has the energy to devote to that.
Okay.
There's some people I see twice a week, and there are other people I see every other week.
Wow.
But I do not see anyone less than every other week. I don't think that's therapy at that point.
What is it?
That's just catching up.
Let's check in, you know?
Right, yeah,
It's adjusting whatever fire is like, you know,
Yeah.
what the new fire is, the news of the week kind of thing. You know? It really, the goal is to kind of get a little bit deeper than that. So you run the risk of that with, you know, weekly therapy or every other week, but, you know, this is even more of a chance if you're meeting like every 3 or 4 weeks.
So what's like the format? Like, is it an hour every week?
Yeah.
Is there like, not to get too much into like the magic of it all, but like, is there like a structure where like you spend the first couple of weeks just getting to know them, and then like how does it unfold from an outside perspective?
Good question. So when someone first calls me, I'll arrange a time to do like a 15-minute phone conversation just to get a sense of like if what they're dealing with is within my wheelhouse. I feel like I can work with them, and you know the logistics of my practice are okay for them as well. And then I explain how it works. Right, you get a set time from week to week, or however frequent we decide to meet, either week to week or every other, or more frequently, and that's your day, that's your time. I don't give it away to anybody else, right? So if you say Thursdays on noon, that's it. Thursdays at noon, right? And you would have to cancel or reschedule within 48 hours, right? Or else you're charged for the session. And that just works for me from a business standpoint, but even for them to like, you know, you got to be invested in therapy for it to work, you know? And so if you set aside just that 1 hour a week, right? Like that's, It does something for, I think, the person in terms of how they get into it and their devotion and commitment to it. And it also communicates how important it is to me, too. So, and then it's like an hour, right? So, or for some couples, I'll meet with for an hour and 20. But it's called a clinical hour, which is just 50 minutes, because the remaining 10 minutes are for me to write up a brief clinical note. So, and the same with couples, right? It's not an hour and a half, it's an hour and 20.
Okay.
So it's 50 minutes, an hour and 20.
Got you. You ever had like issues with clients or patients? You know, they blow up on you and walk out, or you know, like Soprano. You know, we just
Tony just told about
broke
that
his
joint.
table and
Yeah, definitely.
It's normal, or it's like
I mean, it's not your everyday session, right? It's just it's the way that I look at stuff like that is like you're communicating something, and it's my job to help you figure out what it is you're really communicating. Right. So it's not for me to like take it personal. Of course, there's something about me maybe that's a part of it, but also, right, it's about me helping them understand what is it doing. They probably do this with other people, right? I've had patients like abruptly in treatment with me, but they've also come in talking about how all the people they've ever dated are like you abruptly in relationships, and we don't understand why. Like, you know, and it's like, you're doing it again, you know, and also, right, like I'm getting kind of a sense of what your exes feel like when you just abruptly left, and trying to help them understand why it is they play out these patterns in their life.
you tell them that. I see what your ex is talking about. That must.
No, I didn't say it like that.
Yeah, your ex is right. Next day the building's on fire.
It's like this feels like an abrupt end, and you've talked about, you know, ending relationships pretty abruptly and being disillusioned by how people feel like you don't care about them. Right?
Yeah,
You're communicating that again.
Nice way to say it.
Yeah.
That's the right way to say it.
You know how we lawyers get bad news? They're going to jail.
You're going locked up. They won't let you out.
Y'all ever seen that Drewski skit where he's just like, they gave you life. Sayonara. Like, damn, y'all. It's like,
Hey, man.
no empathy in that tone? No.
I think that's kind of where lawyers different. Like, you know, we got to give you the hard, cold truth, you know, as soon as possible, I think.
Yo, let me ask y'all.
Because if you put fluff around it, they might not get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people are like that.
Okay, so I might not go
They
to
might see a
jail.
little bit of.
You gotta give them enough fluff to survive the landing, but not enough fluff to not realize they're on the ground.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't have them out there thinking they're floating.
Yeah.
That's what some of our colleagues do. We have them in
That's
the
true.
air, just swirling.
Yeah, chilling. Like they got a parachute on and it's full of bricks. You know, it's
so when they hit the ground, it's like, you did it. You did it. Your gravity. Fuck you. Like, bro, I've been pumping you a little bit of gravity every time I see you, baby. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
But the less you do it, the more it's gonna hurt when it hits.
Right.
It's like,
Exactly.
I think what you're supposed to do is like you're like, I think they're like a plane with like one engine, and you're air traffic control. Like, oh, you make a left, you need to slow down, get back to 50 knots.
Yeah.
That's how you gotta be. You know what I mean?
That makes a lot of sense. I believe in like giving the truth in a way that's
constructive,
considerate. And constructive.
Yeah.
I definitely got to do that because I do a lot of SEL work in my junior high school.
Y'all go
What
with
that
these
mean?
acronyms.
What
Y'all
that
go
mean?
with these
SEL,
acronyms.
it's a social emotional learning.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, so you gotta, like, for me, I have a lot of teachers who, like, they'll put a lot of fluff. They'll make them feel like, oh no, it's okay that you smacked that kid in the back of the head because he took your pencil. And I'm like, boy, like I tend to give it like not disrespectful but raw. Be like, listen, man, like what if that was a sibling of yours? Then you would be up here, you know, or your cousin would be up here, your whole family would be up here ready to scrap outside. Like, do you not, you know, like I gotta put it in terms in the world that I understand that they live in, right? And unfortunately that they live in. And so like I'll have kids who just be wild disrespectful to their teachers. You know, like, fuck you, suck my dick. And I just be like, okay, I understand you're angry, but what if you were a teacher and a student said that to you? Oh, I'll smack him. I was like, oh, well, you would lose your job. But also, but like, also, like, do you see, like, that teacher didn't smack you. You know, so and with junior high school kids, I feel like with adolescents, it's a lot of like, oh no, it's the outside, not me. It's, you know, no, oh will he, oh will she, oh will they. And so there's like, and so I feel like they obviously the adolescents, their brain hasn't grown to understand that. But it takes a lot for me to have to like dial that back down and then lay the chips down and be like, nope, you don't got a full house, bro. You know what I'm saying? You're missing a couple cards. And so
it's hard with kids.
Do you work with children, or
I do not?
It's just like 18 and over. I don't want to hear you.
It's hard, man. You know what it is with kids that frustrates me, because it is a lot of their external world. A lot of kids, they'll have adult responsibilities but not adult control, or adult authority. You know, so they really ain't working with a full deck at all, but they still giving full deck responsibilities. You know, so it's hard watching that. You know, because a lot of the times they'll deal with stuff. And they're, like you said, right, they're just acting out their shit on the external world. They're raging against it in whatever way they can to get what's inside of them out, you know, without even understanding what's in there, you know. So I have worked with some teens. I will work with some like 17, 16, but that's like, but you got to be able to, you know, talk. If you're able to talk, I'll work with you, because that's just where I'm like more comfortable and where I think my skills come to life.
But your license, you can talk to children, right? Is it?
Yeah, I can.
It's
no,
all
it's not
ages.
a separate license.
The license, they're separate licenses.
There's not a separate license.
Oh, so
no.
you can talk to infants like, and then you can talk to like 90-year-olds and be like, you don't know what the fuck it was like before cars. Y'all got the internet now. Hurry up! I had to go to a library. Technically, yes.
But yeah, I'm not all that trained in kids.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's like a specialty, like infants in particular, but also kids. And
Yeah. So do you feel like kids, like you were saying, it takes a special set of skills?
I think so, because you are helping the kid on some level wrestle with what they can't control, because it is a lot of the outside world, but it's trying to get them to focus on what they can that's going on within them. Right. And it's tough though. It's tough. A lot of kids are in tough spots.
Whereas with adults, everybody over 18 be like, "Nah, bro, you know it's your fault.
It's on you."
I'm telling you again, it's your fault.
Yo, the fucked up thing about trauma, and childhood trauma in particular, and I think we all like come out of childhood with some sort of stuff that we adopt to, that forms our personality, like, and the partners that we choose, so on and so forth. But, you know, the really fucked up thing about life is that, like, you know, things happen to you that are fucked up, or, you know, whether it be parents or other people in your life who do things to you, at some point it does come your responsibility to deal with it. Right? So it's, you know, being able to empathize with yourself for having gone through that, while also taking up the reins of being in control of your own life, you know, and that's hard.
Yeah, right.
I be feeling bad when people say shit like that, because my childhood was awesome.
I think we had pretty good childhoods too.
It was a good time.
That was kind of wild. I can't lie. Mine was kind of crazy.
I feel
But
like I didn't even realize how ghetto my upbringing was until I got to college, and I was like, it can be this safe.
right, yeah.
So there's still stuff, right? You can enjoy your childhood and still have certain things that you've
But
adapted
you know the
to.
funny thing is,
Right.
like, even in noticing the differences, like hot, cold, I enjoyed the cold. Now I'm
Right.
hot, I'm enjoying that too. But it's like,
Yeah.
like I didn't.
Yeah.
I still don't look back at it as negative.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
ever like. I'm never angry at my pops for whooping my ass, but like now, like I remember I read some article, for some education class, and it was discussing the relation between like whipping your kid, and how slave owners would whip their slaves.
Yeah.
And it was making like a correlation between
Part
that.
of my dissertation, actually.
And I was just like, I can't believe I didn't make that connection, but now that I did, I can't unsee it. Like,
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm gonna whip my kid's ass, but if he's bad, I might have to get his younger cousin to punch him in the stomach or some shit. Like, someone his age. You know what I'm saying?
It'll hit different then.
It'll hit
It'll
different,
hit
you know what I'm
different.
saying?
Literally.
You can't say, Dad, you beat me. Like, no, Dad, you got me beat up. Yeah, but it was a baby fist that hit you. It wasn't a man's
You
fist.
gotta do it like they do in Game of Thrones.
Right.
So because you can't hit the prince, there's a boy you beat. So you should just get a man he really likes and beat that motherfucker.
Whoop his favorite teacher's ass. He comes in like with a crutch and shit.
Mr.
Johnson, what happened? You happened.
From 5 to 10, you have like a Spanish tutor that they come in and they really get to like him. And at 10 to 14, it's like, yeah, this guy, I'm gonna beat the ass. What you doing?
Oh my
I
god.
will cut a finger, but every time you disobey me.
So you said that was part of your dissertation, huh?
Yeah. So I did. Jesus.
And
that was
explain
so
what a
long time
dissertation
ago.
is, for.
Yeah, so a dissertation is an independent study that you have to complete in order to graduate. So I wrote this 130-page research paper about what was it? Jeez, man, I feel old. Like I graduated 2015. Wow, it's 2022, huh?
Yeah.
Goddamn.
Yep. We old.
We are. So it was on parenting styles and well-being among African American youth. So it was looking at correlations, right? Which is not causation. It doesn't mean like this causes that. But it's just looking at certain markers of various parenting styles as reported by the kids and certain markers of well-being and looking at correlations. And what I found was that for really strict parenting, like black kids, there was some data that was a difference between like 2-parent homes versus a single-parent home. And it didn't mean mother and father. It could have been grandfather and grandmother, like just a maternal and a paternal like entity in your home that was there for you, right? And so there was one of the most interesting findings I thought is that authoritarian parenting, the parenting that was like really, really strict, and about discipline and obedience, right? Actually had higher markers for autonomy in black youth. And that's the opposite for white kids. Like, so white parents who were strict, right? Like the data shows it's opposite for white kids. Like white parents who are really strict, they don't come out, white kids don't have as many correlations to like psychological well-being, but black kids do.
Right.
So, and that was for both, and that was the only finding for single parenting homes. So the other kind of parenting styles, one that's balanced with warmth and discipline, and the other one that's just more permissive. None of those correlated to any sort of psychological well-being outcomes. But for single parent homes, strictness, definitely did. So there's a couple of reasons why that might be. One of them is that because there's adequate warmth and love that comes along with that harshness that could maybe incorporate corporal punishment, like physical punishment, but not. And that's not the case for white parents who are authoritarian and who are really strict. There's not an adequate amount of warmth. Or we receive it as warmth because they explain to us that they have to be this way or there'll be somebody else who's going to whoop our ass or imprison us or kill us.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's like we're trying to teach you a certain level, certain kind of decorum so that somebody else doesn't have to parent your ass. And that's how the correlation between like physical punishment and slave ownership comes into play. Right? Like black parents have always prioritized obedience because they wanted to keep us safe. Right.
Exactly.
But knowing that, we internalize it in a different way. So that was like one of the cool findings that came from it.
Yeah, and another part of that art, it could have been a separate one, but they were talking about how, in urban families that you'll talk down and you'll get your big head ass over here, or like, and that also stemmed from how slave families would keep their kids because they talk that massa, he's not strong, he's actually really dumb, and they would talk their children down so that they would be able to more likely keep their children with them rather than have them sold off if the slaves
talk them down to like the slave master.
Yes, exactly. And so that kind of stemmed down because that existed, because they did it out of survival. It now translates to, you got a lot of parents who like, get your big head ass over here, you so stupid, like they use these words that could now in a world where they have more elbow room to self-reflect. They're not worrying. They're not worrying about a lion killing them or somebody enslaving them physically.
My dad used to call me stupid motherfucker when I fucked up.
Yeah.
But what he would do is call me stupid motherfucker, right?
Wait for it.
And then he'd be like,
That's not it.
like, stupid motherfucker. Like, all right, go back to your room. When I call you, like, say he wanted me to do something, like, whatever he wanted me to do, I didn't even know what I was supposed to do because wasn't paying attention. He'd be like, stupid motherfucker! And he'll have me come to the room, and he'll be sitting there like, go back to the room. When I fucking call you, you better come. Like, all right. Go back to the room. We're playing video games. You gotta sit there quietly. Stupid motherfucker!
Was this like a joke? Is this a joke between
It's real life shit. It sound like.
Yes, daddy. And it'll be some simple ass shit.
It's a lot to unpack there. It's a lot to unpack.
I realized when I was like 22 and all I did was get drunk and be super loud at, I am my father.
Hey man, we all got something, man.
Parts.
We all got something.
But this is great, man. This is dope. I got a bunch of more stuff that I want to talk to you about when we ain't get to, but it's all good. You're gonna be back.
I will. Listen, man. Send the invite.
Hey, listen, when you back in New York, next year.
So,
Hey man, this is a pleasure though, man. I fucks with the show heavy. It was a long time coming. Happy to be here, guys.
We got some unsung heroes.
unsung heroes.
Sponsors.
Ole is our unsung hero.
Olayemi Olurin.
Thank you for helping me with that.
I told you to write it out phonetically.
I did.
I did, but it got harder.
Respectfully.
It got so harder.
Yeah.
So harder. It got so harder. But yeah, she is our unsung hero. She's a public defender. She actually is a attorney in the same office that we are.
Yep.
We had to give it to her because we can't make ourselves unsung heroes on the show. So she's our surrogate.
She also does great work for her community.
She does.
That's also like,
That's what the article is for. This is just the teaser.
right. Little taste.
Yeah, she does great work in the community. Sponsors. Who we got, baby?
The sponsor today is Raw Radiance.
Raw Radiance.
Yes,
All right.
beauty products brand.
Mm-hmm.
They have great products with all natural ingredients. Check them out. The information's obviously in this box.
It's on the screen. It's on the website. Hit the blog.
Here.
Perfect. Beautiful. Any advice you want to give to the people?
Yeah, you want anything you want them to follow or contribute to?
Oh no, my bad. You don't give
Cash
advice.
App.
You don't give advice. My bad.
I do have some sayings that I leave people. Yo, my Cash App is not.
You got an OnlyFans, like
Your OnlyFans. All advice.
clapping your cheeks, be like, love yourself, clap.
I'll just say one saying. It is a little advicey, and I'm not one for cliches, but I do share this because I think it's hard for everybody to do this. It's talk to yourself like somebody you love. You're stuck with yourself. You have a lot of y'all got money. Yeah, sound effects. I like that.
I think this is, man.
Y'all rich out
That was
here.
a microaggression. shit come full circle. What you mean we got money? It's because he's black and we don't got no money. I had a podcast, we never had no side effects, man. I ain't never lived in this nice before, right?
Oh, y'all live nice over here.
Y'all got merch and shit. I ain't never done this, right? My shit ain't do numbers like this, dog. Right? I'm just enjoying this.
Yeah.
This is velvet.
This is velvet.
But real talk, man. Talk to yourself like somebody you love. You're stuck with yourself for life. You're the only person you gotta forgive all the time. You gotta love all the time. Give grace to all the time. So make sure you do that.
Word, yo.
Where can the people find you at?
drjshopkins.com, drjshopkins@gmail.com, and drjshopkins is my handle on Twitter and Instagram. So
That's the way to do it. Get them all.
I tried to. Just trying to be like y'all when I grow up. You know?
Gotta get them all.
Yo, go. Good shit, y'all. Good shit.
Hey,
Great
man.
episode, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.
See you guys. See you next week.
See you next time.
Woo! Give me that. Yes.
No. So what they're saying, right? Just be clear for our audience, because I actually read that article. I didn't look at the headline. But what they said was
Dropping gems like we preaching. Don't overstep the line of my freedom of speaking. We cast to the world, put the words in the street and connecting all the minds of the people we reaching.
Yo,
Jury's out.
tempted to get fenced in and contempting. Teach you motherfuckers a lesson and pressing the issue at hand. Nah, I don't care about objections, suspensions, and cell inspections. Just suppression of black lives is my passion. And love for my fam is everlasting. So stop gassing these asses with glasses. Cause in the end, I leave them where the trash is.
Jury's out. Jury's out. Jury's out. There's no doubt what we about, and we kick it to the masses. Trying to spit the law as we laugh off our asses. Breaking down the latest shit, carrying crazy lady shit. Glad I got no baby shit. COVID got me crazy, bitch. Damn. And G gon' have to edit this. The jury's out, so you can't even credit us. No statements null and void, invalid evidence. No, we can't take this to court, cause you know. Jury's out.